Hello and welcome to the Empowered by Claudia podcast. I'm Claudia, a registered nurse, certified life coach, and founder of Claudia Sabina Wellness. This is a space where we get curious about the thoughts, beliefs, and experiences that shape how we show up in life. Through honest conversations, real coaching moments, and practical reflections, we'll explore how to feel less guilt, less pressure, and more like yourself. Let's dive in. Before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to share something that I've been reflecting on. So when I first created this podcast many years ago, I imagined that it would be a place where I shared practical tools, strategies, and things that could help you feel more confident and empowered. And I still love sharing those things. But through the coaching conversations that I've shared recently, and through the work I do with clients, I've realized something. Often we don't need more advice. Most of us already know so much. What we do need is space to slow down, to get curious and understand ourselves a little differently and with more compassion. So this next chapter of Empowered by Claudia is going to be a little more reflective. We'll still have the practical tools, but we'll also be exploring the thoughts that we carry, the beliefs that shape us, and the patterns that sometimes keep us stuck. And that actually brings me to today's conversation, because one of the biggest things I hear from people is, I know what I need to be doing, so why am I not doing it? And I guarantee that every one of you that is listening to this will resonate with that, because I experience it myself and I hear it time and time again. So that is what we're going to get into today. And it is just so frustrating, isn't it, when it happens? You know, for example, one of the coaching conversations that I had a few episodes ago was about not getting enough sleep. We know that sleep is good for us. We know we feel worse when we haven't slept, but it can feel really hard to prioritize that earlier bedtime, to put the device away. I even had this conversation with my osteopath on Saturday. She's like, I'm just not getting enough sleep because I'm on my phone looking at stuff and I know I should put it down and I know I should take a book with me to bed instead. What is that gap between knowing and doing? What is it that is stopping us from taking that action that we know is going to be in our best interests? And I encourage you to take that pressure off yourself, because actually sometimes we then spend all that time beating ourselves up thinking, oh, why can't I just do it? It's so simple. It's what I tell other people to do. Actually, let's give ourselves a bit of grace and go, actually, the reason that we sit there scrolling is one, partly that the apps are designed to keep us scrolling. That's how they make their money. And it's the same with hyperpalatable foods. So they are designed to keep us constantly eating them because that's how they make their money. But this isn't me saying, oh, we're going to blame everyone but ourselves. Like, we're not going to blame the social media platforms for making them so entertaining and hard for us to step away. But let's think about how we can maybe set ourselves up for success in that, actually, is it, rather than having our phone chargers right next to our bed, is it that we have to plug our phone in on the other side of the room? Because actually then when you turn over in bed and you go to grab your phone and look at it, it's not there. Is it, there are various devices on the market that can actually stop. You can put screen time limits on, you can either stop access to certain apps. There are so many things out there to help us. So is there something that we can do, like a little tweak, that actually just helps break that habit? Because it's a habit at the end of the day. And it feels comfortable to do something that you are familiar with. Because doing something new feels scary because, well, what if I can't get to sleep without me, my nightly fix? Or what if I miss out? What if someone's posted something and I haven't seen it? Chances are you'll catch up at another point. Or maybe they'll tell you in person. And change is scary. And even if you're thinking, Claudia, we're just talking about a bedtime routine. But it's not about that. It's about what it evokes inside us. So does it remind us of things that we've tried to change and haven't succeeded at, or it all went wrong? Or is change something that's positive? When I reflect on my own self, when you've started a diet and then you inevitably sabotage it somehow, and again, using that word inevitably, I think a lot of it is because I'd put myself in this mindset of like, well, I'm giving up chocolate forever, or I'm giving up eating out or whatever. And it felt too big. So actually, can we say that I'm going to give myself a challenge of, you know, maybe it's reducing your screen scrolling before bed, from an hour to 45 minutes or to 30 minutes, or just, a little thing. So you're not going completely cold turkey, or we're saying, okay, I'm going to sit on the sofa downstairs, do that, and then I'm going to not touch my phone when I get back upstairs. Trying, rather than saying, I'm never going to do that ever again. And then you find yourself out of habit doing 5 minutes. You think, well, I've done 5 minutes, I might as well carry on, rather than going, okay, that's 5 minutes, right? But I've noticed, I'm going to stop. And actually, by having that, by breaking that aim down, it doesn't feel so difficult. By saying, I'm going to reduce, rather than I'm just going to stop, and actually thinking, okay, well, what could I do instead? Because often it's really hard to just stop something. And actually, it can be really helpful to replace, particularly if it's something helpful. So it might be that you go, actually, do you know what? I'm going to put a nice moisturizing hand cream on my skin. And then I can't hold my phone because it's going to slip and it's going to drop on my face and that's going to hurt. So, maybe it's doing something, but actually that has the benefit of, probably your hand cream's got a nice scent, your skin will feel less dry and uncomfortable. And you can maybe lay in bed and think, right, I'm going to, visualize my goals. So maybe it's that you want to go on a holiday somewhere. Maybe that it's that you want to achieve a particular milestone. Obviously, not something that you're going to go into the minutiae of how that's going to work out. But for example, at the moment, Harry really wants me to do his bedroom. So I've just finished decorating Evie's bedroom. And we're not quite there. We're still in kind of idea generation stage. So actually, last night he said, Mummy, can we talk about my new bedroom and our plans? So we laid in bed, had the lights off. I said, okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with the ceiling. So what colour are we going to do that? And we were literally just talking it through. So I have a clear idea of what he wants and he could imagine it in his head. But it also gave me that chance to manage his expectations. This is not going to be done in a day. This is going to take multiple, probably weeks realistically. And there are various stages. And actually the prep work for decorating is really boring. It's things like cleaning it down, sanding, putting masking tape on. And actually, I think that really helped him to understand that this is actually a longer process, but it's worth doing it because then you'll get a better end result. And I said, the first thing is we've got to tidy up and we've got to pack away your stuff that you don't want to get painty. And, where are we going to keep your stuff? While it's going on. And it actually resolved a bit of friction because he wanted it done there and then. But when I explained to him the process, he was like, okay, I've got something to look forward to. This is our summer project. This is not something that's going to be done in one day, but it's going to be worth it because really going to enjoy it. So, we're in that situation, we'd replaced screen time with this conversation that helped both of us because I was feeling frustrated because of the constant, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? I'm like, but your room is full of stuff. And how am I going to do this? And also I've got to pace myself because of my fibromyalgia. I can't just blast out a redecoration in a day. So yeah, I think it was really good for both of us and it eased a lot of stress. And that's slightly off topic in that, but I think actually for him, he was like, but I've asked you to do my bedroom and you haven't done it yet. So I think actually articulating that was really helpful for both of us. And that is, again, about assumptions. So okay, so going back to this, I know that I need to do something. I know what I need to do, but what is stopping me? Are there any assumptions? So is it that I am saying, okay, well, in order to have a better bedtime routine, I need to have a different job that doesn't mean I get up so early. So then I'll get a chance to have longer hours in bed. Is it that when my kids are older, I'll be able to get to bed easier and I'll have a light in the morning? What assumptions are we making? What are we kind I'm going to use this word very cautiously, but what are we blaming? What are we using as the scapegoat to say, actually, well, it's this is what's holding me up? And actually, are we clinging to a certain identity in that, I've got to be online and keeping up to date with what's going on in other people's lives because I'm the friend that does that. I'm the person that messages and says, "Oh, happy birthday. Hope you have a great day." And I've checked in. And actually, is that identity serving us? The other thing that I find can stop me and stop clients is this idea of I'm not going to do it unless it's perfect. And that, it's like, okay, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the screen time. If you think, right, no more screen time, and then actually you end up spending like 5-10 minutes, and then you're like, but I didn't do it properly. So I'm a failure and I'm not going to try again because I clearly can't stick to it. And that can be really hard as well. And I think a lot of us do associate that perfectionism with being safe, feeling safe. And it can be really hard to break that association and actually to feel comfortable with things being good enough, not perfect. And I did tap into this a bit in the coaching session with Jade and working in the NHS and the consequences of things not being perfect. And I think that can also stop us from doing something. So maybe the time isn't right. Maybe I can't commit fully to something, but actually, if you start now, you'll be so much further ahead than if you waited till everything was aligned to then start. So, what I want to say about those moments where we know what we need to do, but we're not doing it, is actually that there's never going to be a perfect amount of prep. You're never going to feel perfectly ready, whether that's a new job, whether that's a new exercise regime, whether that is, planning a big holiday, whatever it is, we're never going to feel like the time is right. But actually, when we do take that first step, that helps us to realize that change is not dangerous, that life is constantly changing and evolving. And sometimes we can cling to what we think is security and safety, but actually there's so much out there for us. And what we need to do is understand what's actually getting in the way and what is the root of it. Is it that I've tried so many different diets and every time I lose weight, but then I put on even more. So I end up heavier than when I started. So I don't want to start a diet because I'm going to end up weighing more. Maybe that change feels too hard. So actually, maybe it's reframing it and thinking, okay, so what is my goal? And, for me, I had a health and fitness goal. I still do. But the main thing for me was about being strong and fit enough to run around with the children without being breathless and without, feeling conscious that I couldn't put the bar down on roller coaster rides that they wanted to go on with me. and those kind of things. And so actually this time I was like, no, I'm not going to go on a set diet, but actually I'm going to focus on those healthy priorities, being active and going to the gym. And I've even started going to the actual gym because I was just doing classes, but me and a friend have started going into the gym, and we've even gone down into the scary plate equipment room where you have to load your own plates on, where all the big muscly guys are. And it's really great. Like, it just, when, I think a year ago, I couldn't pick Evie up. And now obviously she has put on weight in the last year because, she's 4, she's growing. I can pick her up with ease. And yes, it does hurt after a while, but I couldn't do that a year ago. And I know that there's still so much I can't do because of my fibromyalgia, because of my shoulders. But I'm working with the instructors to do adaptations and actually be stronger and healthier for me and for my quality of life. And actually, that has then led to losing weight and prioritizing food that's going to help me nourish my body rather than just focusing on what the calories are in a specific meal. Actually, going right, well, what are the nutrients? What am I getting from this? And is this going to help me? But that fear, the thing that started me with that fear of, well, not being like missing out on my kids, but also that, dying early because it wasn't healthy. But I put it off, and I thought, well, when I'm full time in my business, I'll have more time to go to the gym. But actually, I did take that action before leaving my employed role and actually started going on evenings after work, even though I was tired, because I knew that actually building these habits was so important to already have it in my routine. And it is our routine. My other half knows that on specific days, I'm going to go to my gym classes. And actually, when it's coming up, my instructor's off on holiday because it's her birthday. So we're actually going to the gym instead as a group rather than going, well, the class isn't on, we're just not going to go. And actually built that friendship, this wonderful friendship group that we have just from going to these classes and now going to the gym together. And it feels like such a much more positive way. And obviously, it's not just about how you look. And, for the last probably 5, 6 months, the change on the scales has been about a pound or 2. But there's been massive changes with how my clothes fit because I'm building muscle. And I think this is where you have to really think about what is your marker? So if I was just going on the scales, then I could have got really disheartened going, I've been doing all this work. I'm doing so many exercise classes. I'm really trying hard, but it's not shifting rather than actually changing the focus. So I have a list of non-scale wins that I literally, I fit into this outfit I haven't worn for 4 years. Or it could be that I managed to run around the playground and I didn't have to sit down for a rest. And like yesterday, that the kids were running and chasing me. And again, I managed to evade capture. But it's those things that actually, they're the things that matter, is how you feel in yourself, not necessarily what the scales say or not necessarily what the screen time monitor says, but it's how you're feeling about yourself and the actions that you're taking and enjoying the journey, not necessarily fixating on the end goal. Because I think that's so important, isn't it? And that's really when we're thinking about setting a goal, is actually what is the process of that? So, like I was saying about replacing a habit with something different. If we're going to go to bed early, what is the routine going to be? And can we put some, a nice kind of treat? Actually, I'm going to read this book that I'm really excited to read. Or is it that I'm going to sit there and journal out like 3 things that I really enjoyed today that I'm grateful for? How do we make this fun? How do we bring a bit of excitement and interest in? Because often we just fall into these patterns of actually, everyone's in bed, I'm just going to drop on the sofa. And don't get me wrong, some nights that is what I need. But other nights it's like, okay, so I've got this craft on the go. So why don't I do a bit of that? And then I can go to bed knowing that I filled a bit of my cup because I'm creating something that I'm really enjoying. And yeah, I think really just asking yourself, so what is one thing that you already know about that you've been waiting to feel ready to do? And when you think of that thing, what's stopping you? Is it that it feels too big? Is it that you're not feeling confident in your abilities to achieve that? Is it that you're waiting for the stars to align and for everything to be exactly perfect? And actually, how could it look different? How could we break that down into smaller steps? How could we do something that feels achievable? Could we reframe it so that we actually enjoy the process and try and give yourself a bit of compassion? Don't look at any previous attempts to do it, but literally go, right, I'm starting fresh. It's a fresh start. And celebrate any action, no matter how small, that you take towards doing that thing that you've been stuck on. So that is all for today. I will leave you with that thought. Take care, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Empowered by Claudia podcast. I hope today's conversation has given you something to reflect on and reminded you that you don't have to navigate this journey alone. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with someone who needs it or drop me down a review. It means the world to me. If you'd like to explore your own thoughts, patterns, and possibilities with support, you can find all the ways to work with me in the show notes or at claudiasabinawellness.com. Much love.